Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to talk about the unsung hero of the S550 Mustang, and that is the Cyclone V6. So when the S550s launched in 2015, all the journalists and community were talking about was the 4-cylinder EcoBoost engine, of course, because it was new to the Mustangs. And obviously amongst the purists, the conversation is always about the V8, so the V6 kind of just fell into the abyss. The same V6 engine had been running from the previous generation of the Mustangs, and it offered a more fuel-efficient option for somebody who wanted to get into a Mustang but didn't really want to go full-blown into the V8. So I've owned my 2017 V6 for about 8 months now. Drove it all through the winter. You can hate on me in the comments if you want, but it's a Canada thing. And I love this car, I love this engine, love having a naturally aspirated engine that isn't guzzling gas. Yes, fuel economy isn't as good as the EcoBoost, but it's not far off from it. So let's talk about why you might want to get a V6 from a financial standpoint. Definitely a lot cheaper than the GT. Now keep in mind the V6 only ran from 2015 to 27 for the S550s. Considering that, 2017 model year, which I own, could be the last V6 Mustang that we've ever seen. Very likely that it will be. So it's way more affordable than the GT, obviously. A little bit cheaper than the EcoBoost. So with the V6, you're going to get the naturally aspirated engine versus the EcoBoost, which is obviously turbocharged. The trade-off there is that you don't have quite the low-end torque that you do on the EcoBoost because of the turbocharger, obviously, but you do get a nice linear power band. Let's talk about performance and tuning potential. The numbers compared to the EcoBoost are virtually the same. The EcoBoost does have a slight advantage in the horsepower department, but when you look at the quarter mile and 0 to 60 numbers, they're virtually identical. So the thing to keep in mind here is guys have tuned and customized the V6s to get into the 500s. So let's talk about the interior now. So the V6s, they only came in the standard package. There was no premium option for leather seats. Something else that wasn't included with any of the V6s was the option for satellite radio. Don't ask me why, it just got omitted. But as far as interior quality on a base car, at the price that they were going for, this is a really, really nice interior. Obviously, it's not German luxury car quality or anything like that, but everything in it is pretty good quality. All the knobs, all the buttons, everything just looks tough, if you ask me. Tough and refined. You kind of have like the carbon fiber look stuff, the nice Mustang since 1964 plaque here. I'm a tall and thin guy, so finding seats that bolster me well is pretty hard to come by, and these are actually insanely comfortable for me. I can adjust the headrest to give me enough support. The sides bolster me well. Lots of adjustment in the driver's seat for in terms of lumbar support. So I found it pretty easy for myself to get a comfortable setup in here. You have the telescopic steering wheel setup. You do of course have back seats, although they're virtually useless. I don't even think a small child's legs would be able to fit behind my seat. I'm 6'3", so my seat is obviously pretty far back, but at least they're there in a pinch. One thing I did find for me, and this is really nitpicky, is that the seat belts actually, no matter which way I adjusted it, it was digging into my collarbone. So I actually grabbed these off of eBay for, I think it was like $7 or something like that. So I got one for each seat belt, and super soft, and just makes it a lot more comfortable for me. Okay, so moving on now, let's talk about the drive. You probably noticed mine is a little bit loud. I do have a Roush Axleback exhaust already on it, but I drove it for about 6 months with the stock exhaust. You know, when you hammer on it, it opens up a little bit. Just not the exhaust sound that I was looking for out of a Mustang, so I opted to get an aftermarket exhaust or aftermarket mufflers. But all in all, highway cruising speeds, everything like that, other than the exhaust noise, it's pretty quiet on the interior. Visibility is good. You obviously have a big hood in front of you, but I think that just adds to the experience. But if you set your seat up properly, you can see over top of that, no problem. Driver's side and passenger side windows, great visibility. I got great visibility out of the back window as well through the rear view mirror. But yeah, if you just want kind of like a relaxing drive, you can keep this in drive mode. Don't put it in sport. Just keep it in drive mode and just cruise and enjoy it. So you have 3 different steering feel options. Basically controls the steering weight: normal, sport, and comfort. I pretty much keep it in sport all the time. I don't know why you wouldn't want it, but you know, different strokes for different folks. But in terms of the handling, pretty sharp. You know, I came out of a pretty small and really good handling car in the Fiat 500 Barth. I know that handling with Mustangs has been an issue with them in the past, but the S550s have really good handling. They have that independent suspension in the rear. No complaints whatsoever from me in terms of handling. I think that it handles and steers well. I drove it all winter, and obviously the only thing you have to consider is in a rear-wheel drive vehicle, the amount of torque you're throwing there, because you can kick the tail out really easily. Side note, if you are considering one and you will be driving it in winter, do not cheap out on tires. Make sure you get something good. I opted for the Michelin X Ice and do not regret it one bit. So in terms of packages for the V6, as I mentioned before, there was no premium package. There was one option add-on that you could get, which this car came equipped with, and that got you the 18-inch Foundry wheels. I got you the rear deck spoiler, and it got you the fog lights. Other things to consider with the interior, the stock stereo is actually really good. It's definitely not a premium stereo or anything like that. There's no subwoofers, but the stereo system sounds great. That's something that's big to me because I'm a music producer. Let's talk a little more about performance and modifications. So let's consider that the GTs are, what, maybe they were like $10,000 more than the V6? $10,000, okay? You can put a couple grand into this thing and put a lot more power to the pavement. I was hesitant on it at first because I was like, well, you know, 300 horsepower is enough. I don't need more. But as of last week, I ordered a few things. You're going to see it coming up on the channel, so make sure to stay tuned for that. I'm going to leave a link in the description from CJ Pony Parts. So they have a nice article on their website about how to get a lot more power out of the V6. Again, so for a couple grand, you could definitely get a lot out of the V6s. So I'm gonna go the lazy route today, get a little Simonez car wash. No matter which way you cut it though, the S550 Mustang, it's gonna be a great car. The decision comes to you, depending on what you need. Are you looking for something you're gonna tune? Are you looking for something that's got crazy power right out of the box? You don't care about the price. You just want a V8, you want that official muscle car, then by all means go for the GT. But if you're just looking for something as a daily driver, this is going to be more than enough for most people. 300 horsepower, 280 pounds-feet of torque, that's enough to keep a lot of people happy, considering that the GTs of 2010 only had just a little over 300 horsepower. Getting a V6 only 7 years later, or 5 years later if you get the 2015 that has 300 horsepower, is amazing. So that's going to wrap up the video. Make sure to smash that thumbs up button. Drop some V6 love down in the comments. And make sure to subscribe because I got weekly videos planned with some more modifications on the channel, so stay tuned.